What's going on, everybody? Thank y'all for checking back in with us here at Trailheads Overland. Sorry it's been a little while. We've been super busy with several projects between our personal Jeeps, personal life stuff going on, and we've been doing a lot of work to the trailer. I'll cover that trailer in another video. I've got some custom work that was done to it. I may have briefly mentioned it before in my most recent video that I had posted, but I'm not quite sure. But anyway, so what I do want to show you guys is something that we have been working on for quite some. I'm trying to get this camera to work. I don't know, it said gimbal points reached. Anyway, so what we have been working on is what I guess some people would call the legend of Jeeps. And we acquired this Jeep. I had a buddy of mine. I actually drove this Jeep. Now we've got another Jeep. But I drove this Jeep years back before we started Trailheads Overland. And it was a buddy of mine. His name's Ryan. And he took it out all the way to DeSoto National Forest. And he was like, man, just drive it. Just drive it. And something about the Jeep, I don't know. I loved it. But I told him, I said, man, if you ever want to sell it, you let me know. And he's like, oh, no, man, I can't ever get rid of it. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's about to get married, and he's got a business that he started up. So he didn't really have the room or the time to take care of this Jeep like it really needed. It needed a lot of stuff done to it. But here it is. It is a 2000 Jeep Wrangler TJ. Now this is not the 4.0. This is the 2.5. I know some people are like, yeah, forget it doesn't have the power or anything. I really don't see where people are talking about it doesn't have the power. This thing's got plenty of horsepower for what we're going to use it for. I know you've seen in other videos where we had like some advertisement stuff that we did on the rock buggy. We got rid of that thing. Actually, we ended up trading it for a Jeep CJ7 that I actually have for sale right now. It's in the back. But anyway, back on this Jeep. Yep, so this is the 2000 Jeep Wrangler TJ SE. And we have been non-stop full throttle on this thing since day one that we got it. So the main problem that it had, he said that he had taken it, he had the transmission gone through and redone. It is a 5-speed manual. He'd had the clutch and all that stuff reworked in it. And he went and he put brand new tires all the way around it, and he went and put brakes on it. Well, after he got back from the brakes, or he was driving back home with the brakes. I'm trying to get all this story because I got a lot to cover with this. But he said he started smelling smoke, like hot brakes. And so he just hurried up and got home, and he parked it, and this Jeep sat for 2 years. Well, come to find out, it was on this back passenger wheel. The axle bearing had burned out completely, and the wheel was tilted. And that's what the brake smell was. So in the midst of that, it ruined the axle shaft. Thank God the axle housing was not hurt. But it had ruined the axle shaft. It had eat up the ring and the pinion. It was just completely demolished. Thank God the locker was good, and thank God the axle housing was good. So all the way around, it's got brand new pinion seals, brand new universal joints. It's got brand new bearings in every wheel. It's done right. So it does have, I'm still trying to get adjusted to driving with it because it's very different, unlike anything I've ever had. Some people call them lunchbox lockers, but this is not a lunchbox locker brand. I guess that's a brand of them. I'm not real familiar with 100% on the lockers, but he did say, the guy at the shop, they were really quick to get it fixed for me, but it's Detroit style lockers in the front and rear. So they just basically they run off of torque. So when it senses slippage or torque on the drivetrain, it locks together. But so anyway, so that had to be done to the Jeep. Also, he had an exhaust put on it. Well, whoever he had put the exhaust on it, they did not do the exhaust right at all whatsoever. They had put an exhaust, they had cut and this is the craziest thing, they had cut the catalytic converter out of it and cut the O2 sensor, downstream O2 sensor. Thank God they didn't cut it on the harness end, they cut it on the plug end. But when the guys, whoever he had do it, they put the exhaust in, they did not put enough clearance over the rear axle, so the first bump that he hit, it broke the exhaust. So we had to put an entire new exhaust system on this, and shout out to Bert's Master Bin in Brandon, Mississippi, because that guy he is the man. I called him on a whim. I told him, I said, man, I don't have anybody to, you know, drop me off or pick me up or anything like that. I said, I got to drive it straight to you. Can I schedule a time? He said, just be here in the morning. We'll get it done up for you. I mean, spot on, great guy. He put the O2 sensor bung back in it, everything. So yep, the exhaust is great. We ended up putting a MagnaFlow high performance. Hold on, I'm gonna let this car pass by. I'm in Logan's neighborhood here. But so we put a MagnaFlow high performance off-road exhaust on it. Sounds awesome, especially for a 4-cylinder. It's great. So it's the same type of exhaust that we have for our Jeep JKs that Logan and I have. So, and Kevin also. One thing that I checked before we ever got this Jeep, I have heard stories about they are prone to what's called frame rot. This Jeep has, other than just like some little chipped paint on the frame, it has and really it doesn't even have that, it's just kind of faded paint. It has zero rust on the frame. It's unbelievable. I know a lot of people say these TJs are prone to that, but and believe it or not, this thing only has 100,000 miles on it, all original. So I'm gonna pull this real quick. I'm gonna show you. It's a little tough to do it. So to dive off into some other stuff that we've done to this Jeep, getting it pretty much full on trail ready. I'm gonna throw this hood all the way back since I only have one hand. Let's see. There we go. So here's the engine. I mean, you can see the engine bay is pretty darn clean for a 26-year-old Jeep. Most of them are just trashed out, completely dusty, just horrible. It needed a couple of things, starting with this radiator. It needed a radiator big time bad. It had a bad leak in it. I had to buy a new reservoir cap. The reservoirs for these things are almost impossible to find that I have seen from any auto parts store. I mean, some people sell them like eBay and stuff, but anyway, I got a new cap for it. It had all this kind of oil blown all underneath here and all underneath the bottom, and I was like, oh God, I hope that's not coming from the engine. Well, come to find out, it was this cap on the power steering pump. It's actually got our power steering pump reservoir. It's got like this little float device on the, or almost kind of like a, I'm trying to get this camera to work. There we go. It's almost like a radiator cap. It's just got a pressure plunger type thing on it. But that thing had completely dry rotted and it was just blowing, leaking. And thank God I found one of these bad boys, just the cap, because it was like $100, $150 just for the reservoir. And I was like, oh God. So, but anyway, so I got lucky with that. We had to put a new, Logan's probably gonna hate me for this. He's an AC guy, but the AC condenser, or the AC coil in the front, it was leaking really bad. It was also leaking Freon here. Somebody, you can see the new AC line. It was leaking really bad. So we put this thing in, and what was crazy, so what's weird on this TJ, if anybody has any problems moving, you know, with their TJs or whatever, these things, you charge them on the high pressure side, which usually you never charge an AC unit on a car on a high, or I don't even think on a house, on the high pressure side. But on this particular year model and this particular engine, you have to charge it on the high pressure side. It's the craziest thing I'd ever seen, and that Logan had ever seen. We put brand new NGK spark plugs in it. Really cleaned it up pretty good, repainted the door handles and stuff. We completely resurfaced this top. We took the top off, washed it really good, wet sanded it, washed it, wiped it with alcohol. Of course, I removed all the plastics and stuff on it. Wiped it down again with alcohol, washed it again, wet sanded it again. We got everything just bare, almost to straight up bare fiberglass. And we did not spray this on. We rolled it on with the texture roller altogether. It took about 4.5 hours to do it and do it properly. But this has the UV dye, or the UV protectant stuff in it, so it should not fade over time. It was just pretty much a quick fix for us, but it's so far so good. I mean, this stuff is just as good as like Line-X is. But this is the Raptor liner from, you can buy it at like AutoZone, O'Reilly's. I think we ended up getting it at O'Reilly's, but I took the, it's got these, I got to get this off. That's just like old residue that's still on there. So it had these A-pillar mount if you have the doors off, mirrors. You cannot see out with the doors on with these things. So I ended up putting on these mirrors here onto the doors. Did that yesterday. So let's see, I'm gonna dive off into, I gotta get used to that. I'm gonna dive off into the interior of the Jeep. We had Kevin, we traded out some stuff. He steam cleaned the seats for us. It had like this big mark, almost like a grease stain across the front of it. We ended up, he was able to get that out. The back seat back there, it's in. All the upholstery's good. No tears in it, no holes in it, nothing. It did not have any carpet in it, but I ended up doing the same thing that I did with my Jeep JK. I ended up going with the Armor Light flooring. This stuff, guys, this is the best thing for your Jeeps. Or if you have Tacomas, it doesn't matter what you have. They even make them for full-size pickup trucks, I believe. This is the bomb diggity if you are big time in off-road and outdoors. All right, so ended up putting this in too because it only has one cup holder in the whole Jeep. And ended up putting this in. It's a pretty cool Amazon find, along with the A-pillar grab handles up here. They're stout. They're not going anywhere. So let's see. And then it had this old Tuffy lockbox center console here. Let's see. Yep, it's got that. We got like our winch remote and all that kind of good stuff in there. Yep. So we changed it from a traditional style bulb to LED bulb up top. We're going to do a lot of radio work and stuff in it also. That's more of Logan's speed. He's all about wanting to do the sound system in it and stuff. So we'll get to that. But give me 1 second. I'm going to move around to this other side. Okay, so to be continued, yeah, with the Armor Light and stuff. Yep, got it over here. Got a little bit of dirt on the ground. What's crazy is I had a bunch of dirt from the different mechanics and stuff, from the axles and stuff that I had done. They had tracked up a bunch of dirt and dust on the inside, and I just took the water hose, pulled the drain plug, and just every bit of it just washed straight out. But yep, so put these in. I just put a steering wheel cover on. There's nothing wrong with the steering wheel. You can see it's not even worn. It's not even dry. Like some of these steering wheels like dry rot crack on them. Nothing's wrong with it. So cosmetically, I mean, you can see like it's got a little bit of scratched up dash right there, but there's no cracking on the dash. Nothing like that. The doors, you can see somebody may have like lined them before with like that plastic paint, but nothing's broke on the doors. Everything's right. I say nothing was broke on them. I did have to put new straps in the doors because this one was just completely gone. Anyway, so yep, I'm still gonna order the Armor Light for the rear, but I've got let me open the back here. Let's see. So it's a heavy tire carrier. This is actually Warren Winch Company. This is their bumpers. That's on the front and the rear of it. So, but yeah, we did have to fix the strut on the back glass. It was like this whole bracket was like twisted. You can see the old tent. We're going to end up redoing that too. But anyway, we ended up doing the Raptor liner on the inside on the back too. That stuff is pretty darn bulletproof, I will say. So I'm thoroughly impressed with all of it thus far when it comes to that. But yep, so there's that. Couple of other things. So I ordered this off Amazon. It's a tag mount for it. It was supposed to be able to work with the tire carrier, but the problem is this is too tall. This was too tall for it, so I had to end up cutting it, and then to make the tag sit on there right, I had to nip the corner of the tag off. So I'm a little frustrated over that. But and then come to find out, this is eligible for an antique tag. They didn't tell me that at the tag office. I'm sure it's one of those things you just have to ask for. But needless to say, when it's time to renew that, I'm just going to get a antique tag. Now, this Jeep gave us a little bit of a headache in the beginning, and it wasn't really the getting stuff together cosmetically or anything like that. It was up here. So I found several vacuum leaks. So to start, this had a vacuum leak, this line going in here into the valve cover. It was cracked, but it was also collapsing also. So that was a problem. But anyway, so I'm trying to, this is going to be a long story, guys, so just kind of bear with me. So it was a little bit of back and forth. So we were driving it. When I went to take it to get the exhaust welded on it, I had no issues with it. It was driving, running great. It was fantastic drive. It did have like a real bad floating problem. It's floating all over the road. So first step with that, you could take this sway bar and it would just slide back and forth. The bushings were just dry rotted and shot. So had to find new bushings. That was a whole ordeal. That took like 4 different tries to find the proper bushing. Finally, I was able to find the entire kit at AutoZone. They were the ones to be able to sell that. Then I had to order the rear sway bar bushings because they were the exact same way. Actually, it was so worn and loose, you didn't even have to grab. You could just touch it with 2 fingers and slide it back and forth. So I mean, it was shot. So anyway, moving past that, I went and took it for a test drive, and the engine, I took it on test drive, pulled back into Logan's driveway, and the engine just shut off. And I was like, well, that's weird. So I cranked it back up. It cranked back up fine, and then it just shut off again. And I said, okay, something's wrong. So this time it threw a check engine code, and it said it was the fuel injector, bank 1 fuel injector. Of course, bank 1, it's only got 1 bank because it's an inline engine, but it was cylinder 4, so it was in the back of the engine. So it was the 4th fuel injector. So I pulled it out, cleaned it real good, put it back in, and I was starting to think maybe it's just some bad fuel or whatever. So I went and drove to the gas station, got gas in it, and got it back over here. It died again, and this time it threw another check engine code, and it said crank positioning sensor, cam positioning sensor, fuel injector. So it threw this code again on the fuel injector, and it showed the cam positioning sensor. So the cam positioning sensor in this engine is located in the top of the distributor cap. So I called around. I had to drive all the way to Pearl, to the warehouse for O'Reilly's, and I picked up the cam positioning sensor. That thing was straight up $100. So it seems like every part in these engines is like $100 for all these little sensors and stuff. So got it home, brought it back over here, plugged it in, drove fine. I went on another test drive. I drove about 5 miles away, was going up a hill. It just shut off again. Boom, just shut off. So I turned it over, did not want to crank. Turned it over again, I'm on the side of the road, and it fired back up. And I said, okay, to heck with this, I'm taking it back. So I brought it back over here to Logan's, and it showed crank positioning sensor. So first it was cam positioning sensor, now it's crank. So the crank positioning sensor is down here. You guys may or may not be able to see this. Hold on one second. Let's see. It's this little sensor right, well, it's up at the top on the side of the bell housing right here. You can see that plug on the back there. So anyway, so had to replace it. Had to drive back to Pearl. Sorry, the watch is talking to me. Had to drive back to Pearl, get a new crank positioning sensor for it. That was a $100 bill. So got it put in. These are all, it's not hard to do, to change these. So got it put in, cranked it up, was driving. Actually was driving to O'Reilly's in Florence, and it died in the middle of the highway at the turnaround, at the cutover. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. So it cranked back up fine, and I shot across the highway, and I got in the parking lot of O'Reilly's, went inside, come back out, boom, it would not start, would not crank at all. And finally it showed another code. It showed cam positioning sensor again. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I took the cam positioning sensor, I warranted it out because the darn thing wasn't 4 days old. I took it back, and I bought an entire new distributor cap on the inside because the points looked like they had some little bit of corrosion on the top of them. Got a distributor cap, I got a new cam positioning sensor, and I went ahead and bought 4 brand new fuel injectors. And so my next thought was, okay, what's going on with this engine? So put everything back together, and at that point I was just frustrated. So got everything put back together. It was running fine. I drove it to the end of Logan Street in his neighborhood, and it started dying again. It started sputtering. So I whipped it back around, Drove back up, right as I got to Logan's driveway, it died again. And it would not crank, seemed like it wouldn't crank at all. So finally, I went on to YouTube and was Googling a bunch of stuff on the TJ forums and everything. And then a lot of people were saying, well, they'll just shut off sometimes which was kind of strange to me, but if the sensor on the clutch, it's got a start neutral safety switch, I think is what it's called. So basically the Jeep has to be in neutral and your foot has to fully depress on the clutch before you can start the Jeep. So I took my foot and I stomped it really hard and it fired up. And I was like, okay, well maybe that's the problem. So we did the bypass on it. So in these TJs, there's a fuse in the glove box. It's a little 10-amp fuse that you just place that fuse in there and it's supposed to literally bypass that whole switch. So put it in there. It did fine. It was running here in the garage, and all of a sudden, at idle, it just shut off again. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys, I'm livid at this point. I'm really aggravated. So, come to find out, so Logan went to AutoZone. This is at 8:30, 8:45 at night, right before they closed, all the way in Brandon. And it ended up being the fuel pump that was causing all these crazy problems. Now, mind you, it's not a bad thing that we changed a lot of stuff. We also changed the ignition coil over there by the distributor. So, thinking that, maybe that was a problem. But that ended up not being a problem. None of these ended up being the problem. But needless to say, it's got all these new components on it when it comes to the ignition system and fuel system. So, it ended up being the fuel pump. I just unscrewed on the fuel rail, unscrewed the cap, put the gauge on it, turned it to just power key accessory, and I think on the form it said it's supposed to be about 50 psi, and it may drop to about 45, but it should take it several minutes before it does that. So as soon as I kicked it on, it shot straight up to 50, and then it went to 30, 20, 0. That was the problem. So we ended up having to drop the fuel tank. That was an unbelievable nightmare. I mean, absolute nightmare because of old bolts and stuff that we had to take off and put new bolts in, and you only had maybe 6 inches of room because you couldn't just drop the fuel tank, because if you just totally dropped the fuel tank, you could end up breaking the fuel rails and stuff. So had to do that. Found a vacuum leak also, because where it runs back into your canister up here, your evap system, those lines in the top, it had a T, and one of those T's had just completely broke. And I was like, oh, great. So, and that was a nightmare to try to find. About 4 auto parts stores and looking at a bunch of different fittings, we finally got that put on. So got the fuel pump back on. Everything's going great. Haven't had an issue with the dying since. Then I had another issue. So whenever I was in first gear driving or anything, so this thing's naturally going to have a little bit of a bump to it or a noise to it when you put it in gear, especially from a stop, because of the locker. So it's just a lot of people that have this style locker, they can chime in on here and tell you that is just a thing with these automatic style lockers, the Detroit style locker. So, but it was doing it super, super heavy and hard, because it was just, you could have it in first gear and you could push the gas, and as soon as you let off the gas and press the clutch, the engine was staying idled up to almost 2,000 RPM, and it would take it maybe 6-7 seconds before it try to drop back down. So when you're in the middle of that and you're coming off that clutch, it was just boom, boom, boom. It was hitting real hard until you got up to speed in about 3rd or 4th gear. So I went to looking for vacuum leaks, because that's the #1 cause, is vacuum leaks. So on my birthday, I ordered myself a smoke machine that's supposed to be able to test all these vacuum lines and tell you, if you have a leak. So I pulled the brake booster vacuum line off, and that's where I hooked the machine up, and it started smoking and fogging everything, and it was fogging up so much, man, it was just blowing out the air intake over there on the side. And so from that point, I ended up I found that the gasket on the throttle body was bad, where it meets the intake manifold. Now, I was super concerned. I missed this step, and I know I sound like I'm rambling, guys, but there's just so much that I've had to do in such a short amount of time, because we have a trip coming up with this thing. But I replaced the exhaust manifold. just because I had heard horror stories about the old Mopar ones. They would crack over time, and actually we ended up finding a hairline crack in this one, so it was time to change it. That was a whole nightmare in itself, trying to change this. So shout out to the guys who changed these things, those exhaust manifolds or intake manifolds on these TJs, especially in the 4.0, because that 4.0 has 2 more cylinders, so it's just that many more bolts. So I had a buddy of mine, we sat out here in the garage one night and we got it done, but I was hoping that I didn't miss any of the torque specs. You know, I had torqued everything back down to spec to make sure we didn't have any leaks or something wasn't pinched on the gasket, something like that. Thank God the smoke machine didn't show anything there. It ended up being, I did find something on the back side back here. I have no idea exactly what this is, but this wasn't even hooked up to the intake manifold. And then on the bottom it had another piece that was just completely dry rotted and broke, and I ended up having to just replace it, just like I did this line up here on the valve cover. So once I got all that stuff changed, I cranked it up, went to drive it, it was the same problem again. So I said, okay, let me get the engine hot and see if that changes anything. Well, I got the engine good and hot. It was running at optimum temperature, just at idle. And so I shut it off and I put the smoke machine back on. Well, come to find out, and I even checked, it had to do with the throttle body. The throttle body was the issue. But I even checked the throttle cables, making sure nothing was seized up from the inside, through the firewall, all the way to the front. So I'm gonna walk over here and I'm gonna show you guys. I think I still have it over here on the shelf. I may have put it, let's see, I may have put it over here. Let's see, did I put that box? I'm trying to see where I stuck this box the other day. Let's see. Yep, here we go. So I ended up ordering a BBK throttle body, or actually, I say order, I ended up buying a BBK throttle body. And so I'll have to show you just so you can understand what I'm, you guys may have had a problem if you have one of these Jeeps. So this is the 2.5 liter throttle body. And on this butterfly valve on the inside of the throttle body, it was leaking. So these have a little bearing and seal on the inside. It was pouring smoke from the spring right here. I mean, it was just rolling smoke. So I was like, great. So I went on all these off-road forum pages or shopping pages trying to find these engine components for this thing. Nobody sells a new, that I could find, 2.5 liter throttle body. You can buy some on eBay that are used, but you may, I mean, they actually looked worse than this one. This one really doesn't look all that bad. But anyway, to make a long story short, that was the problem there. So in the meantime, I was thinking, you know, before I dove off into the throttle body being the issue, I bought new sensors that went all the way around the throttle body. And that was the engine idle air control sensor, which is right back here on the back side. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's right back here. I bought a new throttle positioning sensor, which is right here. And then I bought a new map sensor, which is right here. And now this thing is really funny too, because it has a little small rubber L bracket that goes on the bottom of it that goes from the sensor to the throttle body. And I mean, it's teeny, teeny, tiny. So you always have to make sure that that thing doesn't move or anything when you put that back on. But each one of those parts is like $100 too. So it seems like. So, but anyway, so needless to say, it's got a whole new throttle body on it. But I ended up having to go, I found one local auto parts store, and it was O'Reilly's in Jackson, and it was their main warehouse. It was like the warehouse of warehouses for the state. And they had this in stock, but it was not a 2.5, it was the 4.0 throttle body. And a lot of people, I read on the forums, it is totally fine to put a 4.0, and a lot of people do it just for upgrades in general, just because they have a little bit higher airflow. But now the thing you must do is you have to put your 2.5 components on the 4.0. Everything bolts straight back to just like it should. But it's got, I had to put the 2.5 engine idle air control sensor on it, the throttle positioning sensor and the map sensor. But that was like the nightmare of this Jeep, was trying to figure out, one, why it was not running, why it wasn't staying. It was running, but why was it not staying running? And why was it having such a high revved idle on it whenever you were driving? Because I'm just regular idling, sitting still, it never had that issue. It was only when you put the engine under load and it was really pulling a vacuum. So ended up changing that. So we just put a new belt on this Jeep also. So did that. Logan wired up the nightmare rat's nest of wires that was under here from whoever had lights on it before. I think it was before my buddy Ryan had even purchased the Jeep. It was just a total rat's nest. But he ended up putting rough country. It's got a high beam, low beam. Put those pod lights on. I ended up going back with, I love mine, the Ruxell 12,000 pound winch. I ended up putting this on here. It is way overkill for this Jeep, in my opinion. But I'd rather have more than I need. Have it and not need it than need it and not have it type situation. So we got all that done. But all together, everything's great. I took it yesterday and I had the front end aligned. So that going back to that where it was floating all the road. After I changed the bushings and stuff, it still had an issue there. And it ended up being a front end alignment. So apparently this driver wheel, it's like somebody had tried to do it themselves, which is insane to me, but I guess, you know, balling on a budget type thing for some people. But it was 6 inches, if that's even a thing, but 6 inches out of tow. It was towed out 6 inches. And it was weird too, because you could let go of the wheel driving on the road and it would track straight. But when you were driving under like speed, it would start trying to float on you. And then if you got in a curve, it was real, it's almost like it really wanted to flow with the road too much. And it was super dangerous, and I didn't feel comfortable driving it when it was doing that stuff. But yeah, so all together, proud owner of a Jeep TJ, Trailheads Overland is. So we're gonna make this pretty much our scouting Jeep, and our go ride the off-road parks Jeep. Because again, like I've said in other videos, you know, we love camping and off-road camping and stuff, but we actually try to embrace true off-roading too. So no, this is not some big huge rock crawler, and maybe years down the road we may do some engine swapping, you know, maybe go to like a 5.7 Hemi or something. I know some people are like, do the LS change, but I'm a Mopar guy. I've always been a Mopar guy. Shoot, the only Ford I've ever got is work car. That's a company vehicle. So but yeah, and then we had to change the fuel neck on this Jeep too, because I mean it was just dry rotted, and every time we went to put fuel in it, just everything was pouring out onto the ground, so you were hardly getting any fuel into the tank. But I mean, this thing for a 26-year-old vehicle, you really can't go wrong with the, you know, we can't complain too much out of the few problems that we've had. But thus far, this has been the better of the off-road toys, I guess you could say, for just playing and having fun out off-road. So, yeah. So when it's got 33-inch tires on it, it is geared. He told me it was 5 something gears in it. I can't remember. I have to look at the paperwork, but 513s, I think is what it's got, front and rear. So I did ask him about the axles, because the guy at the shop, he was like, oh, those old Danas are just trash. They're just trash. They're super small axles. And I'm sure a lot of guys on here are gonna come here and say, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. Well, guys, look, I'm not trying to drive this thing up the side of a mountain with boulders the height of the door. I'm just not doing that. One, I care about my safety and the safety of other people around us. So I'm not that crazy into it. Now, with that other rock buggy that we had, I might would have tried that, because it had a true roll cage and stuff. This doesn't. So, but again, and this being a 4-cylinder, the guy at the shop told me, he's like, you'll never break those axles. He's like, that thing does not have the horsepower or the torque to just break the axles. But it's got plenty of power just for itself and its occupants to get up and over pretty much any obstacle that you've got. And a pretty cool fact too that I found out, that these Jeeps with the 2.5s, a lot of people actually loved them because these are one of the lighter Jeeps that was ever made, from what I've been told. So it's 100 pounds and some change difference from the or 200 pounds from the inline 6 versus the inline 4. So, which is pretty cool, because I've watched a couple of guys that are rock crawling and off-roading in these things. I mean, they just go up and over. They don't really struggle because they're so light in the front end. So, but yep, thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, whoever had initially built this Jeep, Ryan didn't know who had initially built it, but they kind of did a good job on it. I mean, they did geometry correctional brackets on everything with the transmission, the transfer case, and detachable front sway bar links. It's got limit straps underneath there. I mean, they put Poison Spider rock guards on it. You know, the GR fender delete. We'll end up changing these fenders back here because these are like plastic, and I don't know, just look kind of junky to me. But we'll end up changing them piece by piece and step by step. So, and I mean, look, is she the most beautiful thing? No, I mean, it's got a couple of dents and scratches. Like right here, it's showing like with some old faded paint. I mean, just from the sunshine and the heat coming from the engine. But overall, it's an awesome Jeep. It's an awesome Jeep. I love it. It's fun, and yeah, I mean, she cranks right up. Hold on one second and I'll get her started for you. All right, so let's get her started up here. Not a light on the dash on. None whatsoever. And there she is. So anyway, so yeah guys, sorry, it's hot out here. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we've been working on. We've been working on this since before we went to J3 at the Gap for the Ozark Mountain Overland Invasion with Michael Rhodes. So we've been working on this for quite a while. It's so darn hot. We actually did a meet and greet trail ride, mapping some trails and stuff too for our Mississippi Overland Adventure Trail. But it's been so darn hot, and everybody there was even miserable. I mean, it is just so hot when you can't even sit outside and enjoy yourself. It's like, all right, well. So we're going to be going somewhere here in the next couple of weeks. Probably our trip before we go overlanding again is going to be taking this TJ to, we're going to go back to Stony Lonesome. That's actually one of the first time off-road parks that we ever went to years back, whenever Logan didn't have a Jeep and it was just Kevin and I that had the Jeeps and stuff. So we're going to end up going back and giving those guys another shot. They supposedly have redone a lot of the parks and fixed a lot of the trails. They even have a new Jeep Badge of Honor trail there, which is pretty cool. So we're going to be able to get one of those for this TJ, and Mary's going to be able to get her Jeep over there. So Stony is, I don't know if anybody's ever been or hasn't ever been, they have some difficult trails, some technical trails. It's nothing like Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's totally different. If you ask me, I think this is one of the more beginner-friendly trails to go on with off-roading. If you've never, or if you're getting into off-roading and stuff like that and trail riding, this is a perfect place for you to go and actually learn your vehicle. So, which is the reason we're taking the good old TJ. We're going to take it out there and put it through its paces and see what she's made of, and you know, nothing too crazy on it. Again, we care about our safety and everybody's safety, everybody around us, their safety. So, but yeah, guys, we're super excited to get back out there, get off road, and I can't wait for it to get a little more tolerable temperatures at nighttime, at least at nighttime, so everybody can sit out and talk and grill and chit chat and just have a good time, just relax. So, but yep, probably our next place that we'll be going overlanding will be the Bankhead National Forest, for the Sipsey Wilderness in northeastern Alabama. And then we've been toying with the idea of looking at going and doing the Georgia Traverse. So I can't wait for that one. That's like a bucket list trip for what I've been told. So yeah, just got a bunch of different things going on. And again, I had some custom stuff done to the camper. I had a custom water tank built to go underneath it. So We don't have to carry around as many water jugs anymore. So, oh man, it's a lot. So, but we love it. We love what we do. I know it may not seem like it when I say, oh God, but we do. We really love it. And if we're not working or tinkering with something or traveling and going and doing and seeing, then we're lost pretty much. I will show you this. This is something, again, this thing's for sale. So, we're gonna sell it or we'll trade it for a car hauler, a flat car hauler, because that's what we're gonna haul that sucker up to Stony Lonesome. But this is it's dirty right now, but this is a Jeep CJ7. It has the original, or it has a AMC 304 V8 in it, and it has a small cam in it too. And I mean, this thing right here, it's an awesome Jeep. It's a project Jeep. It needs some work to it. It's got a small exhaust leak, but it's not anything that can't be fixed. It runs and drives great. It's in decent shape. So, but yep, we got it back here on this little shed that Logan's got, just parked, just keep the rain and stuff out of it. But yep, she's pretty good. It's got some rust spots on the floor, none on the frame, but it's got a couple on the floor. But yeah, and it's completely bed liner too. So that's kind of cool. So inside and out on the hood and stuff. So, but yep, and so and something else real quick before I hop off this camera. I know I'm rambling, guys. I've got a lot to say and a little time to say it. But this TJ, the guy, sorry, excuse all the junk in the yard. The guy that did our re-gearing and stuff, which we really trust those guys. It's A1 Gear and Auto in Florence. I really trust them for anything with the drivetrain down here. They're pretty spot on with that. This has hub lockers on it, so you have to turn the hub for it to go into full drive, if anybody's not familiar with that. So this sucker, you can put it in full drive all day long inside, but you have to come outside to put it in 4x4. So pretty cool. A lot of people say the guys over there said they've never seen one with hub lockers on it on TJs, and they've worked on 100 of them, and they've never seen one with it. So that was pretty cool, having kind of a 1 in 100 at least. I would say 1 in a million, but I'm sure somebody else has got hub lockers on their TJ. But I thought that was pretty cool. So, but yeah, guys, stay tuned, and won't be long. We're gonna be on the trail on this sucker, and we're gonna bring you guys along with us. Stay tuned, stay liking us, stay subscribed, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you for your likes and follows. We'll see y'all.